We're going to go to the president of SAFA, or former president of SAFA, but presidents remain presidents, right? You call him president. Molefi Oliphant. He's a man that has a rich history when it comes to South African football and sits on so much of its founding stages and its heritage, particularly at a SAFA level. He's going to be talking to us. He served as vice president of SAFA for a period of 4 years. He became the president of SAFA. He served for 3 terms and then decided not to stand for re-election. I want to know from him, a man who's received, of course, as we're speaking to Desiree yesterday, the Order of Ikamanga in gold under the presidency of Jacob Zuma. I want to find out from him. Between South African Football Association and the PSL, what are his thoughts and his feelings when he sees what's happening at the moment? Where did it all begin? And can it be resolved? Will we ever see a day when SAFA and PSL are walking the same beat? We've got the AFCON coming up. Hugo Bruce, the coach, is going to tell you how much time he needs, and he needs assistance from the PSL. He needs games moved. He needs certain players. Will the PSL be able to play ball? Or is this thing so deeply entrenched that we should all just forget about it? Are we able to mitigate? Are we able to sit down? And if so, who's that person that can do it? Is it Molefi Oliphant perhaps? We'll have that conversation and so much more when he does come on. And then we're going to be going to France because our regular here, Oma Akatugba, our friend out in France, he keeps an eye on all things European football, particularly in France. And the biggest team there is PSG. Rumors coming out of there is that Lionel Messi is gone. He's going to be finishing this season and he'll be heading out of PSG. They've suspended him, of course, for a couple of games after he left without telling the team that he's going to Saudi Arabia. And he's been there since. You know, when he came back, he was told, hey, man, listen. Well, I mean, it hasn't been there since. He came back and was told, hey, we'll put you on ice for a little bit. So those are the conversations we're going to be having, and you can join in on all those conversations, of course, on 086-000-2160 and 060-552-7303. When we come back, we touch base with what Ncube Motsepe had to say about Coach Rulani Mokwena's contract and then begin our interview. We are live there. I see everybody that's on Facebook. Thank you so much for supporting us. It's always people from all over the country and all over the African continent as well. There you go. Erickson Earn, Erickson, I'm going to butcher your surname if I try this, man. Ntakirutikamana, who's out in Burundi listening on the show. Thank you so much for that one. Duma, be famous. I see you as well from Etanhauser here in South Africa. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. It's going to be a great conversation. You want to be a part of it. And if you do miss it, it's on YouTube a little bit later on. Just find Andile Ncube there and you'll find every single show we've ever done. But I did say to you that Mazola Molefe broke the story on Rulani having offers from all over the continent and, you know, his Sundowns contract yet not fully inked. This is what the chairman at Sundowns, Ncube Motsepe, has had to say about Rulani.
I don't think it would be the right thing to speak about a coach's contract in the public space. But what I will say is we're incredibly proud of the work he does at this football club. He knows that he's loved and appreciated both by the club and our supporters.
And also, he did speak a little bit about the very contract he can't speak about, but this is Ncube Motsepe.
As in everything in life and in business and in every organization, it's something that we know your contract is something that we definitely want to take care of in the right and the correct manner. But and we're confident that we will. I don't think there would be any reason why we wouldn't want to keep a coach as young and as talented and as promising as Coach Rulani and as good a human being as he is.
Well, there you have it. If you're a Sundowns fan and you're wondering what was happening or what was to happen to that coaching position, now you know. Ncube Motsepe, they're the chairman out at Sundowns, speaking about the contract and saying, well, they would love to try and keep him. He's young. He's a great person. Highly ambitious too. We know this about Coach Rulani Mokwena, who's in now the semi-finals of the CAF after having won the PSL in absolute style. 16 after the hour 6. Let's perhaps begin our conversation. We do have former president of the South African Football Association, a man that Touch calls the principal. I call him president. Ntate Molefi Oliphant, are you there? Former president of SAFA, Molefi Nathaniel Oliphant, is with us on the line. I can hear he's there, but the line a little bit faint perhaps. Let's try that again. And Ntate Molefi, are you there?
No, I'm fine. I'm here.
Hey, there you are. I can hear you loud and clear. Welcome to Metro FM. Welcome to Sports Night Live with Andile. It's always great to hear voices such as yours whenever needed coming on to speak on shows such as this one. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Andile, for having me. And greetings to the listeners of Radio Metro.
Tata Oliphant, what's keeping you busy these days? I know you're out in the Val. Are you a fisher? Are you fishing every day? You know, what's keeping you busy?
Well, we don't have fish this night because our waters are not clean. But suffice to say that I'm still part of South African football. I serve on the executive committee of the SAFA as an honorary vice president. I'm also involved in a committee of the PSL called the First Instance Body. Therefore, talking about football, that is in my blood. I'm still part and parcel of football.
Oh, that's brilliant. And for us, the lovers of the game, we appreciate such from you. You've got to be really proud, though, because I look at history and I see you as part of those first administrators to start women's football in South Africa. I was speaking to Desiree Ellis yesterday, having received what you once did from Jacob Zuma, her from Cyril Ramaphosa, the Order of Ikamanga, seeing her winning the AFCON, seeing her going to the World Cup. And I wonder what your thoughts and feelings are when you see what Banyana are doing.
They are real representatives of our country. They are our icons. And with special reference to the leader of that team, which is the coach, Desiree Ellis. I must indicate that she was there from the beginning. She was the captain of the team. I remember when we played our final against Nigeria in Flores, she was the captain, although we lost. But she has been a leader, and she has been an example to our girls. And congratulations to her. And she has been a good servant of South African football. She deserves it. Ikamanga in gold. And we are proud of it.
Wow. I know she's a listener of the show, Ntata Oliphant, so I'm pretty sure that she heard that congratulations and congratulatory message from you. But the reason you're here is because, and I'm glad that you serve on the boards that you serve in at the moment, you know, as a former president, both at SAFA and at PSL, because that's the conversation that so many in South Africa want to have. That's the conversation that so many in South Africa are worried about even. Because when you look at where South African football is now, and you think about where it was in its heydays, both locally as far as the PSL is concerned, when Orlando Pirates was going out onto the continent and winning the Champions League, and Bafana was doing the same continentally. Many wonder if we're going to be able to get back there. And the source of that has to be, surely, some sort of correlation and getting along between the two. That's the conversation I want us to have. What do we do? How do we do it? And where does this all stem from? Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get into it. We've been speaking about the relationship between SAFA and PSL. This is, of course, after PSL boycotted and did not attend the SAFA Congress that was held, I think, about 2 weeks ago. To speak to us about this and perhaps give us a clear understanding on all things SAFA and PSL is a man that knows both ever so well, been a part of South African football and continues to be a part of South African football. It is a former president of SAFA, Molefi Oliphant, who is on the line with us. And Molefi, I'm hoping that this line is going to be a little bit better now. It was a bit shaky in the first couple of minutes when we spoke. Andile Fagute on Twitter, I agree with you. Let's see if the line is a lot better. And Molefi, when you look at SAFA and PSL, what should be the correlation between the two? According to when you guys set it up back then, what should be the working relationship between these two associations?
Andile, the working relationship is fine. It's just that we are taking this thing out of context. And the relationship is determined by what we call a cooperation agreement between the two bodies. And remember that the South African Football Association is the controlling body of football in the country. It's a governing body. That's the National Association. And the National Association has members, and with special reference to the regions, which are primary members of the National Association. Then we have the associate members, and then we have special members.
Right. I'll tell you what, President, if you can just bear with me as I take you back to my producer, Timmy. We're having such an important conversation, and you're sharing with us such a nuggets of knowledge that many might not be aware of. And I can't wait to get to hear a lot more of this conversation. But at the moment, that line, not the greatest. So we're going to take a quick break. But remember, you can send us your voice notes on 060-552-7303 or give us a call at 1845. 1845. Don't miss it, because only 4 or 5 people are able to get in at that point, and then Andile, you have to get in. 1845 086 000 2160. We're still going to be speaking to Oma Akatugba at the back end of this conversation with President Oliphant, and that goes to what's happening at PSG with Lionel Messi. Reports are saying that he is out. It's been happening for a very long time, but I think the SAFA Congress that was held a couple of weeks back was one of the points in which it further entrenched the many beliefs that there's a huge issue between the two associations. We've got former president of SAFA with us, Molefi Oliphant. I hope that the line is better now. You are still narrating very beautifully, so I must say, the story of how the two should be getting along. You're saying they do. It's not about that. SAFA is the mother body of football.
Correct. It is. It is. And it has its own members. And the league is one of the members of the South African Football Association. And the league is responsible for professional football. And the conduct of the relationship is governed by what we call the Memorandum of Understanding. And there is a structure that is responsible to address commonalities, misunderstandings, and that structure is called the Joint Liaison Committee. And in that Joint Liaison Committee, we have equal number of members from the league and from the National Association. And the president of the Football Association is the chairperson of that body, of that structure. And whatever flashes are there are discussed at that level. So in my view, there's no substantive differences between a mother body and its member.
But perhaps
relationship.
But perhaps then can I say that very, very well in what you're saying, that's what it should be. But is that how it is? Because as I mentioned earlier, you saw the SAFA Congress just a couple of weeks ago. You saw the PSL saying, no, we're not coming. We're not going to be a part of that. Very often you'll hear about SAFA wanting to do things within the PSL, asking them to move games so that they're able to accommodate Bafana and the likes. And it almost seems as if there's always two ends pulling in different directions there.
There can never be. It can never be. Remember, international matches are being controlled by either CAF or FIFA, and those dates are set. Therefore, there's no way in which the Football Association can begin to change those fixtures. And those fixtures are predetermined to all the national associations in the world, over 200 members of FIFA. So there's no way that the Football Association can say to its members, we are going to shift the matches. No, it doesn't happen like that.
No, they're asking the PSL perhaps to move some of their matches so that they're able to have players for a little bit longer. because the dates for the SAFA matches, yes, are predetermined, but the PSL wants to say, hey, we need a favor, man. Can you move them up a little bit or move them down so that we can be able to have players for a longer period during the training sessions? That sort of conversation.
I may not be conversant with the prescripts of FIFA, but what I know that it is prescribed when it comes to the release of players which have been selected by the national coach. It is prescribed, and everybody must just follow into that, must follow that. Because I believe that the statutes, the regulations, the laws are there to govern the behavior of the participants. And once we stick to that, there can be no conflict.
If it is, as you say, Dr. Oliphant, if it is that there is a getting along, there is an understanding and a great synergy between the two, why would then PSL not attend the SAFA Congress?
Well, it's a good question with respect directed to the wrong person.
Well, I mean, from your understanding of having some sort of insight.
Let me give you an example. I had a meeting with the president of SAFA yesterday, talking generally about the administration of football. And according to him, he still doesn't understand why it happened. But I'm told, and according to the media reports, that the CEO of SAFA has been mandated to write a letter to the league to inquire what could be the problem. So let us wait for that response from the league. And that information was given to me by the president of SAFA last night when we met.
And according to your knowledge, having been involved in the two establishments for as long as you have, is this a first to have such a public spat between the two? It never happened during the time that you were there, that there was such a clash of heads publicly so when one doesn't even attend the Congress of the other? Is this the first, or is this something that, which it seems to be a common thought among South Africans, that this has been going on for a while?
No, it is not. It's for the first time. To my knowledge, this is for the first time. It never happened. So there must have been some misinformation and miscommunication. But we have capable leaders, and that is a football matter, and I'm sure that will be sorted out.
And I can imagine when you're speaking to the president of the South African Football Association, Dr. Danny Jordan, and he tells you that he doesn't understand what's going on, do you ask him to say, but did you ever have a word with Dr. Urban Khoza? Did you ever ask, are you guys on good terms? Do you ask such questions?
They are in good terms. And thanks you are raising that point, because he did indicate to me last night that sometime last week or so, they did meet and have a discussion. That's what he told me.
Have a discussion, not about this particular matter, a general discussion, I'm assuming.
Obviously, that will be one of the items on the table. But procedurally, as I've indicated, the CEO, Mr. Mutlanti, has written the letter, and we're still waiting for the response.
If that's the case, Dr. Oliphant, where do you think it then comes from? And I know this could be shooting in the dark here at you, but then where does it come from that the two, president and chairman, don't get along? Where do you think that then stems from? If you're saying to me, these are people that do talk and they even had a meeting as soon as last week already, where does it come from that they don't get along, that it's oil and water, they don't mix?
I won't take that risk to begin to guess what is happening, lest I'm being accused of getting involved in things which do not directly affect me. And as I've indicated with respect, that question must be directed to both leaders.
Indeed, when the opportunity rises, we will definitely be taking it on and asking them. But, I was going to ask next to say, with the two leaders not getting along as what, many of us have thought, what would be a way forward to fixing the situation? Do you think there is something that needs to be done between the two associations to get better synergy, to get back into pumping a lot more into Bafana, the national team, so that we can get back to winning ways, so that we can get back to, the glory days of the national team? Is there anything that you think the one could help the other with, the one hand washing the other? Or are you happy when you look at what's happening between the two at the moment?
Let us define the roles of two bodies. As I've indicated, the league is responsible for professional football in the country, which is business. And the National Association is responsible for the development of football in the country and international matches. And the National Association, as an example, will appoint the coach or coaches for different teams. It must represent the country. And let's talk about the senior men's team. Now, where does the coach get these players? The players belong to clubs, professional clubs, and professional clubs participate in the league or leagues, because we also have foreign-based players who are trading their expertise outside the country. Now, question is, where does the coach get the players? He gets the players from the teams, from the clubs which are participating in the professional ranks. Having said that, two bodies, although I don't like the question of two bodies, because the other one, without, casting stones, is subservient to the other, is a member of the other. So the coach gets players from those teams, and therefore there must be a cordial relationship between the two. And both organizations have their statutes which will govern the conduct of the members. And once each and every one who's part of the organization sticks to the mandate or the statutes, the rules and regulations, I don't see things going haywire. We just have to stick to what we're supposed to do and let each stick to its lane. And if all of us stick in our lanes, there will be no head-on collisions.
I hear you, Dr. Molefi, and I can't wait for a report back from you. You're saying you spoke to Danny Jordan last night. Perhaps, if I may, when was your last conversation with Dr. Irvin Khoza?
The last discussion was before the Congress, before the workshop, before the NEC meeting. So I haven't spoken to him. In asking that question, I must confess, yesterday one of our discussions with the president of SAFA, Dr. Danny Jordan, was that there will be a meeting to take the matter further. And I must also indicate that between now and 7 o'clock in the evening, I've been trying to get hold of him, but his phone is off. Now, to answer your question, when last? We spoke just before the Congress last week.
Were you aware that he wouldn't be attending the Congress when you spoke to him?
No. I just read, just like all of us, I saw that the press statement from the league. league representative will not be attending the Congress.
Molefi, I think you are correct in that a lot of the conversations that you and I are having are conversations, of course, that should and will at some point be held with, the two gentlemen, the president as well as the chairman. But as you can tell from the conversations you've had and not had with them, is that there needs to be conversations between the two, to which we will then follow with an understanding, or to inquire of an understanding as to what is the status quo. But from everything you've told us, we really do appreciate it, and we do trust that there's always that seniority from your end that will come in when such matters arise. Listen, our conversation is going to be available for download, of course, on YouTube as well. Just go to Andile, Ncube. Molefi Oliphant speaking to us as SAFA former president. I think in all that was said in that, and I've done many interviews, you listen to the show here, I say this often, that sometimes it's not in what's being said. Sometimes it's what's not being said. Because we are observers of this thing called football, and we see a lot of the happenings, not just from one side, but from both sides. Make up your own mind. Make up your own mind as to that conversation we just had. I'd love to hear from you on 060-552-7303. Remember, Faith comes up top of the hour, 7 o'clock for 2 hours till 9 o'clock when we listen with Faith. Right now, though, we've got our man, Oma Akatugba. He's in Tokyo. He's just woken up from Tokyo, ne? Yeah, no. You sound like you're half asleep, but you can't be sleeping, Mr. Oma Akatugba, when there's such big news happening in your city.
Yes. I just woke up. It's about 1:45 a.m. in Tokyo.
Gee whiz, 1:45 in Tokyo, and the big news all around the world, I'm sure including Tokyo as well, is Lionel Messi.
Yes, I mean, it's everywhere, and when there's a story about such a player, it becomes the big news, and this type of a story is not something that is very common with Messi. He's a guy who has built a reputation of being very of always conforming to authority, of always doing the right things, and this is becoming very big because his relationship on PSG hasn't really gone well, and this is like the final straw that is going to break the camel's back. And the way it's going, it's not auguring well for the relationship of both parties. Of course, we know that he's decided not to stay. Now the club is making it look like they are the ones who have decided not to renew his contract to have the driver's seat in terms of the ongoing back and forth between them. So it's a very interesting situation, so to say.
So, I mean, basically what it is it's a club saving face. They know that Messi's never been happy in France, because we hear at how often he takes those trips to Barcelona, even though he's based in France now. And now this recent trip as well. He's never been happy. He's never been comfortable. The club is saying, hey, let's save face and be the first to come out and say, we're not going to be pursuing Messi any further. But essentially what it is Messi saying, guys, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. I'm not re-signing.
Yes. I think I lost you there while you were asking the question. My network was acting up. Could you please repeat the question?
No. What I'm saying is this is obviously the club saving face, as you say, because Lionel Messi has made it very clear that he was not happy in France. I mean, with the regular trips that he's making to Barcelona, this recent trip as well to the Middle East, showing them that I do not want to follow the rules here for a player that you say, rightfully so, has been following the rules. So they're saving face and saying, oh, you know what, we're not going to renew. We don't want to renew. Whereas Lionel Messi made that decision a long time ago already.
I think it's political. PSG are trying to act to the public that they are in control. I mean, we're talking about for many, the biggest footballer in the world, the greatest of all time. And we've seen over time that his PSG hasn't been number one for him. When he signed the PSG contract, he made it clear that the national team will come first. And all of that was agreed. He signed the contract. And of course, the club understands that he's got this relationship with Saudi Arabia. He's the tourism ambassador for the Arab nation. He goes to Barcelona a lot, where he still has his villa, and of course the fact that he might be going back to Barcelona. So I think that all these have made the club a bit unhappy, and they are looking for a way to get back at him, because the story we're hearing is that his team had informed the PSG authorities long time ago that Messi would be honoring a trip to Saudi Arabia, and then he was given the permission. That's the story we're hearing. Change that he had to arrive to resume, for training, and that was not possible for the Argentine superstar. And of course, he was given the information by Ivan Campo, the sporting director, and now the whole matter has been blown out of proportion. I think that PSG is playing politics and look like, Can you hear me?
Yeah. So lastly, Oma. Sorry there, because our line is not great. Sorry. You think they're playing politics?
Of course, trying to make Messi look like the bad guy, because already the relationship has gone sour. They've lost the player. The player doesn't want to remain at the club. And that, I think, makes them feel a bit disrespected. Now they want to get back at the player and put it out there in the media to make the player look like the villain. And this is a good story for the Ronaldo fans, who seem to have lost the battle after Messi won the World Cup. Now this gives them something to celebrate, and that is why you see that
you're being personal now. You're being personal now. You're being personal now. But Oma, before I let you go,
you can't always take that out. The Ronaldo-Messi rivalry, when anything negative comes out of the Messi camp, the Ronaldo camp celebrates that, and you just have to put that into consideration.
Before I let you go, very quickly, you are a Parisian, you are a France man, you in and around the games, around the players as well, around the media and the storyboards. You're all there. Do you think, because many from Barcelona and parts of Europe feel like Paris and France in particular never really welcomed Messi warmly? They never really made him feel a part of the Parisian culture.
I think that they did initially. I mean, Messi's arrival in Paris was very elaborate. The media was basically blown away. We saw it, and everyone was excited. But I think that the World Cup final match between France and Argentina affected, caused a lot of damage. The way Argentina celebrated the World Cup, the players and all that happened. And that for PSG, the most important player is Kylian Mbappe. We could see how PSG even tried to downplay what Messi did at the World Cup. A player of your club wins the World Cup, and there was nothing special to even celebrate the player. But they were rather even celebrating a player who, of course, was the highest goal scorer, but didn't even win the World Cup. So you could tell that PSG have not really given Messi the premium that he deserves as the GOAT that he is. And, somehow that may have affected the cordial relationship between the clubs. And we've seen it already, the cracks on the wall. Like I said, since the World Cup ended, we've seen a lot of signs that says, hey, things are not going well, this club, between Messi and this club. And now what has happened is basically making it clear to us that, they've been these, problems behind the scenes between Messi and PSG all along.
Oma, get back to your beauty sleep. I know you need to look pretty in the morning, so I'm going to let you be. Thank you so much, my friend. I always appreciate it.
Thank you.
For myself and my entire team, a particular and special thank you to Lindiwe Lee T, at Lindiwe Lee T on Twitter. From all of us here, and there's a lot of us. On Mondays, a lot of us. On Fridays, a lot of us. During the week, a lot of us. We appreciate you in particular. Pela, and all me.